What did we just witness in Soccer We Trusters, also known as the Trust Fund? The Leagues Cup final has been settled, and Inter Miami are the champions. We're going to break it all down for you. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Yes! What is up, everyone, and welcome to Jeff Cassar's favorite podcast in Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Cream Cheese Trash Can Conrad, also known as Jim. I'm here with the Heartbreak Kid, Hollywood Heath Pearce, and not Charlie Davies, to the surprise of absolutely no one. And we're talking about the Leagues Cup final. There were 47 teams, Heath. We're now down to 2. The game was in Nashville. Nashville was there, and Nashville lost in penalties. Some epic penalties, but Inter Miami and Leo Messi are the champions of the first ever tournament. And I know I've seen some friends out there. They're like, this tournament's rigged. It's not rigged, dude. Messi's just really good.
Yeah, he is really good. It's like ridiculously good. Yeah, but having said that, like I Nashville were in a position a number of times to win that game.
They were
as were Miami. You know, like they're what I like just generally, I guess, to get a little bit straight into just at least the initial thoughts, was just that even in the 80th minute, that had some like non-championship level intensity. I mean, like, you know, final games are usually cagey, and especially as you get towards the end,
tense.
They get a little more tense, where teams like kind of go, well, you know, we can potentially get 30 more minutes out of this, right? But it had that. It was the first time this, and the knockout rounds had it, but it was the first time I remember in this tournament where, as it got closer, both teams ramped it up, looking to get a win in regulation, because of the idea that like a penalty is a crapshoot, right? Like there's or penalty kicks is a crapshoot as to who could win. It had that level of intensity all the way to the end, which I really, really liked. And honestly, one of my favorite finals in quite some time, just in terms of the quality, the intensity, the intentions of both teams trying to play. You saw sort of like, it was like a real boxing match where both teams were landing blows and punching, you know? I
think what I liked too was that there was two distinct styles, right? Gary Smith and Nashville. By the way, we should probably add that the game ended 1-1. Leo Messi scored about 23 minutes in, and then right after halftime, Nashville scored on a set piece. And I should mention that Nashville scored more set piece goals, non-penalty set piece goals, in Leagues Cup than anybody else. And Inter Miami were the worst team in giving up non-penalty set piece goals. So it all kind of played out the way that it should. But I did like that there was two distinct styles, and how comfortable Nashville is without the ball. When I looked at a lot of their games throughout the whole tournament, they didn't have a lot of possession. We're talking in the 30 to 40% range, and we're very comfortable without it. And we've always known Gary Smith to be a good defensive coach, but the attacking side was always, I don't say lacking, but that was like the final piece. And then when you had Mukhtar into the equation, who's such a good player. I said it before in the preview show. Anytime I watch him play, I always come away being more impressed with the little things that he does and how comfortable he is. And there's so much responsibility on his shoulders to drive that team forward. And he's like, yeah, I got it. No problem. And I love being on teams with those types of players, and obviously watching those as well. But fantastic tournament all the way through. Obviously, the addition of Messi leveled up. And I don't know if Messi actually improved this stat, but I thought this was pretty crazy. In the Leagues Cup, he's averaging a goal every 53 minutes. And he scored again today. Another one. He hit the post in the second half. I mean, the guy is just unreal. But I actually thought Nashville did a pretty good job on him, all things considered. But yet he still found a way to hit the back of the net.
Yeah, and then, off that post shot, just another one where it's like, I actually think, you know, there was a time, and not to go down the Ronaldo Messi route, but remember when Ronaldo
it helps us for search engine optimization.
Yeah. Remember at a certain point, Ronaldo's game just quickly evolved, right? He just recognized, like, I cannot put this load on my body anymore. I need to become a killer, right? Like, and like my efficiency's got to go up. And then all of a sudden he became this like dominant threat in the box all the time, where he just didn't waste chances. He was like automatic, but it wasn't so much about like setting up his own goals. It was about getting into the good spots, having good players around him. Like Messi seems to have that now, where it was like there were moments where Nashville for long periods kept him somewhat neutral, right? And just the flow of the game did that. And then he pops up in one moment and almost bangs that second one. You're just like, man, you cannot sleep for a second, because that was against the flow of the game. And then almost got, you know, Nashville almost lost in that moment. Having said that, the other way, similarly, Nashville had those types of chances. But again, I really respect both these teams because they came out and played. And again, my complaint about Leagues Cup in the group stages was that teams could play really poorly and get to the 70th minute and know that they're 20 minutes away from a flip of a coin, right? If they could just survive. And you saw teams really, I don't want to say like kind of batten down the hatches, but they kind of saw that like if we don't give up too much. And then this game, both teams went after it like they were trying to win. Both teams showed everything. And you talked about Hani Mukhtar and just his gaming, his willingness to be like, okay, yeah, I'm up for this. It was just spectacular. And you just saw again the speed of the passing, the movement, even under pressure, the quality of decisions that I don't often see in MLS, at least in tight moments as the games get spread out and you get later in matches and it gets a little sloppy and you're in the middle of summer and all these things. There was not one of those stereotypical things that came into that game. And I was just, overall, just as a neutral, super entertained with that. And like, what a way to cap that off if you're the League's Cup trying to look at the future and saying we're going to add more teams or we're going to change a bunch of things, like to have that be a final, like that's a gold standard for a final, at least, compared to other finals in other leagues.
For sure. And I think what's cool is that this is the first major final for both of these clubs, and both of them originated or at least got their MLS status, a little stamp that says we're an MLS team now, during the pandemic. And so they've come a long way in a short period of time. And another thing I wanted to add to this, because I know some people have been dismissing the League's Cup, but when you get into this part of the tournament and we have two MLS teams in the final, this is what we want, right? We want to create big moments where our players, if we're looking at this from a 10,000-foot view, we want our players to be under as much pressure as possible, right? That's why people knock the MLS. It doesn't have promotion relegation. It doesn't have something to fight for every weekend or whatever it may be. Well, this gave these two particular clubs and even the teams in the semis and potentially the quarters, like there's something on this. There's some juice, and that's what's maybe lacking with some MLS games. And so I love that this exists. And to your statement, which I agree with, both of these teams went for it. There was no conservatism to their approach outside of what Nashville already does, which is sit back and kind of absorb. And we saw Philadelphia try to do that, and it did not work against Miami. But I did want to say this about Messi.
But it did work against Monterrey the way that Philly came out the way that we saw Philly, and they smacked Monterrey today, by the way, in that third place game.
Yeah, they scored 30 seconds into that game. So you got to love them being a little bit pissed off about how they played against Inter Miami. There's one thing I did want to say. I tweeted this out, and I wanted to get your thoughts because I know you played against Messi as well. And when you see it firsthand and you're that close, you really marvel at how special the guy is. But when I watch him play now, I've never seen anyone, this is what I tweeted, consistently take advantage of creating an inch of space and then turning that space into goals and assists. I mean, the guy it was kind of a broken play when the goal that he scored, it somehow falls to his feet. Walker Zimmerman does the right thing as a defender. He goes to close him down. Messi anticipates that that's coming because he's a genius and gets just a little bit of a gap from him. And then the second defender that's coming and then curls it into the top corner. It's unreal how good this guy is. And I'm glad that there are going to be some casual fans that'll be able to witness these little nuances and subtleties as to what makes him special and how that elevates the whole performance. Because I'm not sure this League's Cup final would have been the same if he wasn't playing for Inter Miami,
Oh no, I think this changed the whole trajectory of this competition. Like just one, because it gave us something to wrap our head around, right? Imagine if this didn't exist and he came straight into the league, right? And the points that they're in now, I still think it's going to be a hard sell for them to get into a playoff spot, right? Because the unbalanced schedule makes it really hard because every game that you're not participating in is essentially a potential for a 6-point swing, right? Against another team in your conference. When you play other conference teams, then there's a little bit of a wash to that. But when you play most of your games in your conference, it's a really unbalanced way that it's hard to catch up at a certain point. So I think it's going to be hard. And if that had been the case, we would have judged that based on this like big thing that we're pulling together. But to have him come in this like 7-game sprint where there was an outcome that could rally the general fans, rally all of us for or against Lionel Messi, saying there's no way, or there's no way that he's going to go that far, or the league's, the players suck, or all the narratives everybody has sort of sunk their teeth into, has made this again, it's cheesy and cliche, but you couldn't write something like this, to have it start that way. With the competition being the first thing that he was in and them going on to win it and his performance is getting better and the players on the team magically becoming better, young players improving, like all those kinds of things I just think is really cool.
It is really cool. And what I find interesting about your statement about how do you come into the league and the fact you think they're going to struggle to get into the playoffs. According to Caesars Sportsbook, I don't know if you saw this, Heath, despite being the worst team in all of MLS, Inter Miami have the second shortest odds to win MLS Cup at plus 550, 5-1. That's better odds than every single team in MLS except for FC Cincinnati. And that is the team with the most points. They have 51. Inter Miami have 18 points. And they have to finish in 9th or better, right, to qualify for the MLS playoffs. They are 12 points behind, to your point, they're 12 points behind a conference foe in DC United, who have 30. Now, Inter Miami and DC United have already played twice this season. United won that and got a draw in the other one. So they're not going to play each other to finish the season, which, to your point about those 6-point swings, won't happen. So it just makes it even harder for them. And yet the bookies in Vegas, they think these suckers are going to go on and win the. I mean, that is some confidence.
It could have been. Seeing. Hey, it could have been a great swing for them if they played Charlotte, who they just pumped in the Leagues Cup quarterfinal. Absolutely pumped them. But that game got postponed now. I'm not sure when that one is again because they've got the Open Cup on Wednesday. I mean, this is a team, by the way, that could go out with three trophies. This year if they were to figure it out. Leagues Cup, Open Cup, and then the league if they were to
then the league.
Go on to do. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but they've only got one Western Conference opponent. That's LAFC at home. I don't know how I'm going to get to that game, but I'm going to try. But they've got the rest are all, I think, if I'm looking at this correctly, all Eastern Conference opponents, and a lot of those teams that are sitting above them. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
If they continue to play. I mean, they've scored 22 goals in 7 League Cups games. I mean, if they
but I just think it's a different thing in the league, Jimmy.
Like
a team happy to take a point, like a team's happy to take you at the 60th minute in September, October, and just sit back.
No, I get it.
Shut the whole thing down. Like 7 games of Messi, great, but you need Messi now for the final. What is it? I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 13 games, league games. 13.
Yeah.
It looks like. Like that's 12 league games.
What do they? They have a 12-point gap.
Yeah, 12.
I don't know.
Gap.
It's
and again, I only say that because the unbalanced schedule is that like every time 2 teams happen, there's just this movement that like big movement that can happen because it's all happening within the league. You lose a game, Inter Miami loses a game to a team that's above them in the table. That gap increases considerably, right?
Sure.
It's like one team loses points, the other team gains points within that table. So I just think it makes it really hard that he's going to have to be spectacular for 10 of them, which we know he can because he just did it 7 in a row. And by the way, 7 times in his career has he scored 7 games in a row, which I thought was a great bragging point. You can't crap on us because he's crapped on it. He's done it to everyone type of thing, the whole, which I don't mind. I
don't mind that either. No, I think it gives context to it's just not MLS that he's dunking on. He's dunking on everybody. This was the 41st final in Leo Messi's career, and he has won yet another trophy in what is an incredible, probably the greatest he has to be the greatest of all time, but the greatest. I mean, I guess Danny Alves is there. I guess that was my only hang up when I was tripping up over my words here. The Danny Alves has won a lot of trophies too, but mostly because Leo Messi led him to a lot of those trophies. Messi also just got named as the best player of the tournament, and he was a Golden Boot winner as the top scorer. No big surprise there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because they have another game coming up here on Wednesday, and it's going to be on Paramount Plus, which is pretty awesome because it's the Open Cup semifinals. There are 4 teams left in that one, and we're excited to talk about it. It'll be in Cincinnati. It's Cincinnati hosting Inter Miami. I think that's going to be a great game. And the other semifinal, Houston Dynamo versus Real Salt Lake. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Heath, if Inter Miami get past Cincinnati, they will host the final, which would be absolutely nuts. And so, yeah, kind of curious to see how this all plays out. And both of those games are happening on Wednesday. We actually have a cool little ad that we're going to run right now. So we're going to take our first break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we'll just continue to break down this very exciting final for the Leagues Cup. Don't go anywhere.
The man, the myth, the Messi. Catch Inter Miami take on FC Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup on the all-new Golazo Network and streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Exactly right. Streaming live on the CBS Sports Golazo Network and Paramount Plus. The U.S. Open Cup returns with two mouth-watering semifinals. The Inter Miami juggernaut, led by Mr. Leo Messi, looks to keep their winning streak alive against a pretty rested FC Cincinnati side. I wonder how that's going to play into things. Before Houston Dynamo and Real Salt Lake fight it out for a final berth. The U.S. Open Cup happens Wednesday, August 23rd. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Eastern, streaming live again on the CBS Sports Golazo Network and Paramount Plus. And that is going to be awesome. I look forward to those games. I'm going to be back, Heath, from Sydney, Australia. So I'm going to settle in. I'm going to get some popcorn and some other drinks that I like. Maybe some choice adult beverages. And I'm going to kick my feet up and watch both of those semifinals. It should be good.
That's totally fair. I like the idea of doing that. By the way, we were working on that asset you just put up, trying to figure out who should be the other player that goes on a thumbnail next to Leo Messi.
It should be if it's Cincinnati, you got to go with Lucho Acosta, no?
Yeah, but that wasn't Lucho Acosta.
Well, I mean, you go Brandon Vasquez could have a
that was Vasquez. That was Vasquez on the Vasquez on thing, but the argument was Lucho Acosta or Brandon Vasquez. That's really good, Jimmy. You're an elite level marketer, you know.
Thank you very much.
But
I like.
We are clarifying to some people in the discussion because someone goes like, well, why not just put like blow up Messi's face? And you're like, well, we would love to, but that's just there's like rules to the way that you could do that type of thing. But yeah,
you got to balance it out a little bit. But
it's one of the. But I mean, if you're Brandon Vasquez, you're like, dude, I'm on the same thumbnail. Like I'm putting that on my wall as well. That would be behind me right now with all my other vanity things that I've got, different printouts of my haircuts. It'd just be me in a poster with Messi that somebody created.
I actually need to frame my tackle against Messi in the Copa America from 2000.
Do you have it blown up? Do you have it printed?
I don't. No, but I have it purchased. So I know the photographer that took it. So now I just have to, I want to get it professionally done, Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like what you got going. I love that jersey, that Red Bulls jersey sick behind you.
It is. I actually I've had it for a couple weeks now. And each time we were going to do a show, I'm like, dude, I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put it up. And then, the show, like you get down there like, oh, dude, it's upstairs. I'll leave it. But then now that I put it on, it's actually it looks really good on these colors in the back.
It does.
I'm pretty happy with it. It's just a really, really cool. I love when designs go outside the box and do something cool. It's great.
No, I think it was super smart. Yeah, I really like that one a lot. And with all due respect to NYCFC's Parks and Rec jersey, I think the Red Bulls won this one in terms of
this is the 50 years of hip hop. But the Parks and Rec with only NY, that brand is a cool brand too. Some cool collabs coming out.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot of collabs.
The Bape one with Inter Miami, which I know is apparently going to sell out immediately or did already. I'm not even sure.
I'm feeling quite good that it probably sold out already. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about these Open Cup semifinals. How does Miami now take this momentum into it? Because as you mentioned before, they're going to be tired, and there's a lot of games. And now, though, obviously this is going to be front and center because it's another opportunity to potentially host the final and then another trophy. And now Messi's 2 games away from winning yet another trophy in this country, and he's only been here a month. So fair play to the guy for making that happen. But I wonder how Pat Noonan, the head coach of FC Cincinnati, how they're going to approach it. As much as they've had the rest, sometimes you lose a bit of that match sharpness that comes from playing.
They've had 3 weeks, days. Man. It'll be 3 weeks when they play that game, which, they'll play. I was talking to Greg Vanny. He said they were doing inter squads. I was talking to
inter squads can only do so much though, dude.
Yeah. I mean, for them, it was good because they brought in like 5 players during the window, so it's like good integration and competition. And same with actually Pablo Mastroeni, same thing, just, challenging guys, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And we saw that that gap can be a great thing for a team that's battered and bruised and beaten and whatever, or it can be a really bad thing for a Cincinnati who had fantastic momentum going into the League's Cup and then got knocked out in the round of 32. So, you don't know what Cincinnati you're going to get, but you're definitely going to have fresh legs. It just might not be sharp legs,
Yeah, I guess then thinking about the comparison between the two, it's almost like Miami, knowing they're going to be tired a little later in the game, need to really get after it in the first 20, 30 minutes. But they've actually been really good. They scored in 5 straight games in the first 15 minutes in the League's Cup. They've got 4 goals in the 15 to 30 minute mark, including tonight. And actually they scored 6 goals in the last 15 minutes of League's Cup games as well. So they
by the way, Jimmy, I just to correct myself, I don't know how I didn't even see this. Cincinnati play Columbus tomorrow, so like they'll have a game.
That's right. They have a game. That's fair. That's right.
Without
MLS is back in action.
And then they'll play tomorrow. I was just thinking about that because all the LA games got postponed, so my brain was like shut off for this weekend.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up, and that's a big game, right? You're going back into
for them. Yeah,
a huge rivalry game. So I think that'll help them a lot and knock some of the rust off. But still, it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. And Miami's been so good off the top. I wonder if when you watch the Miami, they seem to get better and have gotten better throughout this tournament. Do you see any like glaring needs that they're going to have to address here, whether it's this season or moving forward, Heath?
Honestly, I mean, it is going to come down to if teams are smart, and there's not a lot of teams like Nashville, right, that have that level of comfort. But like if they play Houston in the final, like Houston is down to grit and grind in the Open Cup. But like,
well, so is Salt Lake.
So is Salt Lake, yeah. So I mean, Salt Lake could be really
either
good
opponent
too.
in the final. Yeah.
Like I was when I talked to Pablo Mastroeni the other day, he was planning to make, I won't say the number, but a lot of changes between the weekend and the midweek. And he's like, and that's not because of whatever. Like we need points and we want to win our semifinal. But I've just got a lot of guys right now. And he's like, I'm to the point where like these guys are so motivated that I'm rotating and I'm getting success out of it, which is a pretty crazy thing and an unpredictability for like Houston has no idea how Salt Lake is going to come out because they could come out with 18 different players right now. But they'd be up for the task as well. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that this game played a lot into Nashville, even though they ended up losing, but they did a lot of the things that neutralized Messi to just a few moments. Now, if Messi can do that, which we know he can, then you've got he's going to do what he's going to do, right?
Right.
And you got to find a way to get one back, either if they score first or find a way to get a second goal. But if teams are able to be willing to kind of be okay without the ball, make it really difficult, have the personnel to spring out on the counter, do those little things that can wear them down over time, then you know, I think they could do it. Cincinnati obviously is also really good right now, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Nashville, who I thought were pretty interesting throughout the Leagues Cup because they had Colorado and Toluca in their group. They ended up losing to Toluca 4-3, but they got past Colorado, and then Colorado lost to Toluca, so they got through, not as the top team. And then they take on and go to Cincinnati. They're up 1-0 in this one. They give up a goal, and then they win in pens. They had 33% possession. I took all these notes because I thought it was really fascinating, their journey. And then they take on Club America. They're at home. They're up 1-0. Then they're down 2-1. They come back and make it 2-2. And then there was some, questionable stuff going on with the Pens, but whatever. They end up winning and they go through 39% possession. They play Minnesota next at home. They win 5-0, but it's a bit, it's only because that Minnesota got a red card in the 34th minute, and they went on to, they didn't score any goals until the red card happened, and then they just kind of wore down Minnesota. And then they played Monterrey. I actually thought they played pretty well against Monterrey, but again, 38% possession, both goals in the second half, so it was pretty tight. And Serge comes out and makes a difference. He's been a great signing for them. And then I thought was interesting tonight was they give up the first goal. They fight back. They're very good on set pieces. They're currently, though, 4th in MLS, or in the Eastern Conference, excuse me. They coming into this on only in MLS league form, they'd lost 5 out of 6. So not the greatest, but I feel like this could be a catalyst, Heath, for them to kind of kick on and start to be more of a front runner and start to compete with the New England Revolutions and Philadelphia Unions and Cincinnati's who are above them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are the things that those times when you face adversity, you win games and you haven't played well, you somehow find yourself on the winning side of a game that could have gone either way. You lose in a final like this. That can be pretty tough, but it shows you just the margins of how close you are from being a really good team, but also the margins that can humble you and pull you backwards. So when I think about the personnel that they've relied upon, the number of guys they've gone to throughout the Leagues Cup, I mean, Nashville are coming out of this a way better team than when they went into it, for sure. And with a lot more experience and probably belief in their ability to play a certain way and get results that way consistently, but also have that. There's just a little bit of that special sauce you get when you go through things as a group and as a team. And granted, we know how deflated they probably feel right now. But also believing that, man, we're maybe better than we even thought we were, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the signing of Serge has been great. He scores a bunch of goals, finds himself in a good spot and good spots, I should say. And Mukhtar, you can already see a nice rapport between those two particular players. Their next two games, though, are pretty interesting. They have to travel to Atlanta in a week's time. And then midweek, they go to Miami to take on Leo Messi and friends down in Fort Lauderdale. So that'll be interesting. 2 games coming out of this tournament to see how they perform, see if they've got any injuries that they're nursing. But yeah, it's they have more away games than home games, and they have to go to Philly as well. They get the Revs at home. They get Orlando City at home. They're going to be fine to making the playoffs. But as we know, and as for everybody that follows MLS pretty closely, it's nice to be in a rhythm and understanding your identity as you get into the playoffs so that you can continue that on. So it looks like maybe they had a little bit of their dip ahead of this tournament, Heath, and now they can get settled and go from there. But
you'd hope.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be gutted. Obviously, they had fought back from 1-0 down, and then to lose the penalties, and then your goalkeeper's the one that missed it. I feel really bad for him in particular. But
dude, and I could feel it coming. There was just this
yeah.
This sounds bad.
I'm only here to save penalties, not take them.
This sounds really bad, but when he got up and he had his arms out and he was just freezing before his approach, it just looked like your buddy who runs out on the field during the halftime of a youth game and is like, dude, let's do penalties, and you're like, you see him approach it and you're like, oh, that guy does not take penalties very often. Or your buddy who's like, that guy doesn't play soccer.
Yeah.
I actually
thought that with a couple guys that kicked. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's missing for sure. And then they were buried at top corner. And I was like, all right.
They were banging penalties.
They were banging penalties for sure.
Even Yedlin's, I was like, maybe not really your goal scorer.
Yeah.
Boom, slots it. They were tucked.
And then even Jordi Alba took his first ever professional penalty, which I think was kind of surprising to know that, and he buried his no big deal. It was crazy how relaxed everybody seemed until that last one where the goalkeeper came in, and it sucks for him, but obviously it's all a coin flip anyway.
Well, even when Calendar approached it, I was like, obviously he's a goalie, he's going to just go full power, and he kept it down. There's that risk of he went roof with power, and you just never know with that kind of approach, laces on it, what's going to happen with goalies. But yeah, congrats to them. It was just an amazing final.
It was amazing final. It had amazing penalties, and I'm very curious to see how the Leagues Cup evolves moving forward. Congratulations once again to Inter Miami winning their first ever trophy in club history. Congratulations to this guy named Leo Messi, who came out of nowhere and was the Golden Boot winner and the best player of the tournament. Also, as a programming update for everybody, for our YouTube audience in particular, next week's shows will be coming to you live on Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going back to the original time. I want to give a thanks to everybody in Soccer We Trust team for kind of accommodating my schedule so that I could be up at 6 a.m. and doing shows while I was here in Sydney, Australia. And speaking of Sydney, Australia, the Women's World Cup final is kicking off here tonight. And it's going to be a good one between Spain and England. First time there'll be a new winner. And I don't know how many. It's just so long since somebody else outside of the U.S. or Germany or Norway or Japan won this tournament. So that's going to be very exciting. And we encourage you to go check out our sister pod, Attacking Third. That'll be Sunday morning after the World Cup final for the full recap. We got Lisa, Sandra, and Jordan will unpack all the action on YouTube and, of course, the CBS Sports Golazo Network. So that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. On behalf of producer Des, producer Alex, I guess Chuck, of course, Hollywood Heath, and myself, Trash Can, Cream Cheese, Conrad. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for your supports.
We love you all.
See you next week. Later.